Sure, we've all heard about the classic punishments, detention, jail time, and even some of history's more brutal methods like burning, stoning, or hanging. But brace yourself, because those are just the tip of the iceberg. History is riddled with even more ghastly ways to inflict pain and terror upon alleged wrongdoers. What lies in the shadows are some of the most vivid and brutal methods ever conceived, designed to extract confessions, inspire terror, and deliver punishment in the most horrific ways imaginable. The breaking wheel and the brazen bull, just to name a couple, stand as eerie monuments to the darker corners of human nature. Ready to explore these chilling reminders of our past? The rack. While cracking knuckles publicly might be considered rude today, medieval times took it to a horrifying extreme via the rack. Invented by the Duke of Exeter in 1420, this brutal device was used to stretch prisoners beyond their physical limits until their joints popped. The goal? Force confessions and extract incriminating information from suspected traitors and conspirators. The prisoner was laid on a wooden frame, limbs tied to rollers at each end. As the rollers turned, joints would dislocate, tendons would tear, and bones would pop. One notable victim was Anne Askew, a 16th century Protestant who championed her beliefs. She was arrested for heresy and tortured relentlessly on the rack, yet refused to name her associates. Paralyzed from the torture, she was eventually burned at the stake and betrayed by her Catholic husband. The rack's use was spread across various countries, enduring in England until the 17th century. One infamous victim was the English rebel Guy Fawkes, the brazen bull. In the 6th century BC Greece, Perilos of Athens crafted the horrifying brazen bull at the behest of Sicilian tyrant Phalaris in Acragas. This life-size bronze bull featured a side entrance for placing victims inside before sealing them in. A fire beneath gradually heated the metal, turning the bull into a scorching oven. As the heat intensified, victims suffered unbearable agony, their screams transformed into eerie bull-like bellowings by the bull's specially designed head. The cramped interior became a chamber of excruciating pain, as searing metal caused severe burns, leading to a slow and agonizing death due to intense heat and poor ventilation. Phalaris used this gruesome device to terrorize dissenters, and the Roman Emperor Nero later used it against early Christians. The Judas cradle. The Judas cradle stands as a horrifying testament to the dark creativity of medieval and early modern torturers. Designed to cause maximum agony, its use dates back to these eras as a tool for punishment and extracting confessions. The victim would be forced into a perilous position, often with hands and feet bound, and slowly lowered into a pointed, pyramid-shaped wooden or metal tip aimed at their genitals or anus. The pressure of the body weight on the sharp point caused deep injuries and unbearable pain, further intensified by any movement. This prolonged torment made any attempt to relieve the pain only worsen the suffering. The Judas cradle was notably used during the Spanish Inquisition to coerce confessions from accused heretics and witches. In medieval Europe, it served as a grim public spectacle to deter crime, torturing both common criminals and political dissidents alike. The pear of anguish. The pear of anguish, also known as the Spanish pear or choke pear, is a notorious torture device from the medieval and early modern periods. This sinister instrument was designed to inflict severe pain and humiliation. Made of metal or wood, it featured sections that could be extended by turning a key. Upon turning the key, the device would expand, causing excruciating pain by stretching and sometimes tearing surrounding tissues. The level of suffering could be adjusted by how much the key was turned. Historically, the pear of anguish was used to punish individuals accused of blasphemy or sexual crimes. Women were often publicly shamed with vaginal pears, while men faced anal pears. Besides physical torment, the device aimed to degrade and enforce social norms. Crucifixion. Crucifixion, the punishment that became a symbol of Christianity, has existed for over 2 millennia, with recent incidents occurring within the last decade. The Assyrians, known for flaying and mutilations, likely invented the method. It spread to Babylon, Phoenicia, Macedonia, and eventually ancient Rome. The process involved tying or nailing a prisoner to a wooden beam or cross, as with Jesus of Nazareth. Nails were driven under the wrist bones to prevent the body from ripping through. This caused immense pain without hitting major blood vessels, prolonging suffering. The feet were nailed to the cross, leading to eventual suffocation as the body struggled to breathe. The Spanish donkey. The Spanish donkey, or donkey's perch, and wooden horse was a torturous device from medieval and early modern Europe. This device had a thin, triangular wooden saddle resembling a donkey. Victims were forced to balance on this pointed edge with their legs on either side, often with hands shackled or fastened to weights. The resulting pressure caused immense pain and severe injuries to the perineum, genitalia, or rectal region. Used during the 16th and 17th centuries, including the Spanish Inquisition, it served as a method of public punishment and coercion. Rat torture. Rat torture is a gruesome method where victims endure agony from rodents. Typically, rats were introduced into a confined space with the victim and subjected to extreme conditions. Desperate and hungry, the rats gnaw at the victim's body, seeking escape. This causes severe physical pain and psychological torment as victims face unpredictable attacks. Historically, rat torture forced confessions or served as public punishment, notably in medieval Europe and during the Vietnam War. Today, it's condemned as a gross human rights violation. The chilling legacy of rat torture highlights the importance of protecting human dignity and rejecting such cruel practices. Oubliettes. Oubliettes were solitary confinement dungeons from the Middle Ages, designed to erase prisoners from existence, and used until the 18th century. Often located within castles and fortresses, these pits, like the rat dungeon of the London Tower, confined prisoners of war and criminals in complete darkness. Leap Castle in Ireland, embroiled in a feud between the O'Carrolls and the O'Connors from the 13th to the 16th century, housed such oubliettes. In the 1920s, an oubliette in Leap Castle was discovered 8 feet below a trapdoor, containing 3 cartloads of skeletons and sharp spikes at its base. The Blood Eagle. The blood eagle is widely considered one of the most brutal torture methods ever conceived. Famously depicted in the TV series Vikings, this ritualistic punishment was reserved for heinous criminals or enemies of Viking society, symbolizing supreme cruelty and vengeance. In this disturbing procedure, the victim was bound and placed face down. The executioner would cut open the back along the spine, then pull out the lungs and ribs through the wounds, creating a gruesome image resembling an eagle's spread wings. Death came slowly from organ damage, shock, and blood loss, making the process excruciatingly painful.